up, Rocky Ridge TV? We're back here with another video. In today's video, I'm going to be fixing the crank position sensor on the Jeep. The Jeep's been having issues stalling, turning off while I'm driving, stalling at idling, and misfiring. And I have a new part here from Amazon, and I'm going to be showing you how to put it on. Now, before we get started, this part's going to be linked in the description. This is a Mopar crank position sensor. And why don't you come over here and we're going to look at the tools you need to fix the thing. So first off, you have to take all the trim off of the dash here. There's a panel that goes over the top and then one down below, and you're going to need a short Phillips head screwdriver and then a long one to get the screws out from underneath. There's a screw there, and you need a 10mm socket to get the two bolts down in there. I already taken it off because I've had issues prior. I already installed a new crank position sensor from Advanced Auto and it broke, so I'd recommend getting the Mopar one and use the link in the description to get that part so you don't have to do this again like I'm doing today. Alright, so before we get started on the install, I'm going to play a clip of what the engine was doing, misfiring. So go ahead, look at that video, and then look, I also show you how to check the codes on your engine to see if you're getting the same codes, and then you know. Okay, so now I'm going to show the symptoms of a bad crank position sensor. I'm going to start the Jeep up here. This is a cold start, so it might not be showing symptoms right away. But if you pay close attention to the RPM gauge, you'll start to see the rev limiter bounce. It will not idle smoothly. Other symptoms include stalling while you're driving. I'll be driving down the road and the Jeep will just shut off. Or like when I'm stopped at a light and just idling when it's warm, it'll shut off. And these are all symptoms of a failing crank position sensor. And hopefully I'll be able to show you guys on camera here kind of what it looks like while it's idling. The engine is cold, but you can hear it's not running correctly. Misfiring is also another thing. It'll show up on the codes, and I'll show you guys here in a bit how to check your engine codes and some of the codes that'll pop up with the failing crank position sensor. There you just saw it bounce. That is it misfiring right now. So right here's an example. If your Jeep's doing this, it's definitely your crank position sensor. You can see the RPMs are slowly starting to drop as the engine gets warm. There you heard it again. You can hear it's not idling smoothly at all. Alright, let me go ahead and fix the problem now. Is disconnect the battery. So I'm going to disconnect the battery here. You can stop it. After you have the battery disconnected, the plug to the crank position sensor is down in here, and as you can see right where the light's at, that is the plug that you need to disconnect. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect that next. Alright, now that I have the plug disconnected, we're going to go back into the interior here, and once you have your trim off using those tools, there's a service plate right back here, and it has two 10mm nuts. You want to take both of those nuts loose and then pull the plate back along this cable here and get it out of the way so that you can access the screw to pull the crank position sensor out. Now that you got the service plate off, if you look very closely back there, I'm going to try and get some light on it. You can see, you can see the bolt right there. That's the bolt to the crank position sensor. Now, in order to get to that bolt, your best option is I'm using this wrench right here. This is a 3/8 inch ratchet. I'm using a short extension there, paired with a long extension. Then I have a swivel on the end of it with an 11mm socket. That's how you're going to use it to get it onto that bolt and get it loose. Okay, so I have the bolt out now, and what I'm going to do now is go around to the engine bay and reach in and try and pull it out. You can let the bolt fall through to the ground. It's just going to drop straight to the ground. If not, you can get out. It's not going to get caught anywhere, but just let the bolt fall out. Alright, so I have the new sensor here, and I want to show you how it's positioned in the car. So it goes in the engine just like this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach behind the engine and I'm going to pull it up out of the socket a little bit and turn the tab the whole way this way so that I can pull it completely out. I already have it unplugged, Now if you want to bring the camera over here, in the package of Amazon, this is actually a Mopar piece. Make sure when you're ordering it, use the link in the description so that you're getting a Mopar one. People have been getting some that say they're Mopar but they're not, and when they get their package in the mail, it's actually it's one from a parts store like Advanced Auto or one of them. Don't buy one from Advanced Auto. I did that and broke down on the way down to the beach and got stuck. Alright, so in the instructions here, it has, you have to make sure you do this right or the sensor won't function properly. When you put the sensor in, it says it right here, you want to hand tighten the screw, and there's a piece of foam on the sensor here, and this is just a spacer to make sure that you can see the holes elongated so that you can adjust the depth of it in and out. You want to hand tighten the screw, and then you want to push the sensor down in the hole until it hits the flywheel, and then when the engine starts, once it's installed, it knocks that off, and that creates the spacing. If you don't have it spaced properly, then it's not going to work correctly. Alright, now I'm going to show you the position of the sensor. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but it's back in there, and it's hard to get lighting on it, but it's straight back in there, and I'm going to reach it. You can kind of see that small black wire right back there. It's very hard to see, but it's located right where that light's at in there. You're going to reach your hand down and do exactly what I said to pull it out. This can be done on its own. If you need help, you can get a second person to go in the engine compartment and use a screwdriver to try and maneuver it around while you pull on the wire and get it out. Alright, so I kind of get up in the engine bay like this, and I get my arm back behind here. And you gotta kind of get up so that you can get your arm the whole way back here. And you kind of just gotta reach for the sensor. Got my hand on it. And spin it. And then it's kind of work. I got it pulled out right there. This is my second time doing it, so I have a little more experience, but it can be done on your own. Right, here's the plug. Alright, so I have the new sensor here, and in order to put the sensor into the motor, you're going to have to do it just the way you took it out. You're going to have to put it in with this tab facing towards the passenger, turn it, and then turn the tab so that it lines up with the bowl hole. And then I'm going to put the bolt in it and just hand tighten it. Alright, so we got the new sensor installed. Again, use the two extensions in the swivel socket. You can put tape around it to keep it from swiveling as much to get the screw lined up. I hand tightened it and then used a screwdriver to pry it down so that the sensor touched the flywheel. Alright, we're going to go ahead, start the car, and see if it helped fix the problem. Alright, so far so good. Seems to be idling smoother. Alright, so we have the new sensor installed. Everything seems to be working well. I'm going to give it a test drive just to make sure everything's working correctly, but it seems to be idling a lot better than before. So lesson learned here. Do not buy the crank position sensor from Advanced Auto, AutoZone, O'Reilly's, Napa. None of them seem to work right. Even reading the discussions online, everyone complains about it. Your best bet is to go on Amazon, link in the bio, and pick up a real, genuine Mopar crank position sensor and get it fixed correctly so you don't have to deal with this again. It's a pain to get an install, but once you get it done, you won't have to worry about it again for a while. This motor's got about 210,000 miles on it. I couldn't tell if it was an OEM part in there, but it didn't look like it. So replacing it with an OEM part seemed to fix my problems. Thanks for watching the video, and before you stop watching, please go to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. And comment if you have any issues with stalling or anything. Help people out below if they're looking for issues with stalling. Maybe this isn't the part to fix it. It might be something else, but go give it a shot. Thanks for watching.